Welcome to episode 118 of the Reptile Gumbo podcast. I have my actual
I was just
co-host.
going to say, you got the band back together, man.
I don't know the last time I've had both of y'all on the same podcast at the same time.
Life happens.
But y'all are both here and Megan's sitting at home. But it's fine because she's the one person that answers. I'll get to our question this week. I'm very upset in our listeners because it was a great question. And she's the one person.
You posted it today.
I've done that before. I've posted simple questions and I'll get like.
Yeah, but yesterday was Memorial Day. There may be a lot of hungover people out there today.
No, they have work today.
Maybe they took off.
I mean, we don't have work today, but they have work today.
I don't know. I've been doing work. So who knows?
I haven't. I've been sleeping. So, we'll do our sponsors real quick.
Sure.
Okay.
If you are looking for a high quality PVC rack, look no further than Lone Star Reptile Racks. They offer a variety of sizes for all types of snakes, geckos, rats, and more. You can even order something custom. Shipping is available, or you can plan to pick up at a Herbst Reptile show near you. Visit lsreptileracks.com to reach out to Lone Star Reptile Racks and place your order today.
.com.
And this weekend, we'll be in Lafayette.
Yeah. So speaking of sponsors and shows, the Herbst Reptile shows, we've got the Lafayette, Louisiana show this weekend, June 4th and June 5th, which I'm excited about because it means I get to pick up some boudin and have some boudin balls and just eat Cajun food in general. Excited about that. And then the week after that, we have Conroe, the big Conroe show, June 11th and 12th. That is Katie's birthday weekend. Yep. Just saying, if you see Katie, tell her happy birthday. June 24th, 25th, and 26th is Longview, Texas. That's the East Texas show. Then we're back over into Louisiana for Slidell, the big Slidell show, July 23rd and 24th. So if you are east of Texas and you've been wanting to make it to a herp show, Slidell's the one I would definitely recommend. That's a pretty big show. That's a good one. So come there if you're Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida, drive on over. Check out the Slidell, Louisiana show, July 23rd and 24th. Oklahoma City show, July 30th and 31st. Corpus Christi, August 13th and 14th. Bryan College Station, August 20th and 21st. Again, if you're in Bryan for that show.
The shop is closed that weekend.
I keep forgetting the shop.
And you keep telling them to go by and check out the shop. If they get on
Friday, if they get there early on Friday, they go to the shop.
Yes.
What show's closed?
What shop?
The
herp
shop
during shows
is closed that Saturday of the show.
Oh, the Bryan College Station.
Yeah, because they closed the shop during the show.
Because the employees come and work.
Yeah. Well, and they also closed the shop because, I mean, there's no reason to compete with the people that they already bought the animals from.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Austin, Texas is August 27th, 28th. Then we're back in Conroe in September. There's New Orleans, Waco, Lafayette. This is what I was trying to get to. November 12th, 13th, I get to sleep in my own bed.
Mm-hmm.
That's the 13th, 14th. 12th and 13th?
12th, 13th.
Okay.
That's the Pearland, Texas show.
That's right, because that Friday is Veterans Day, and I think we're out of school that day.
Veterans Day's on a Friday?
November 11th.
Is that always on November 11th? No.
Yeah.
Is it? I thought it was one of those Monday things like Memorial Day. I don't know.
No.
I just know that they tell me don't go to school.
Oh, my God.
I thought it was like one of those always on a Monday holidays. See, now you're looking it up because you're not sure.
No, I'm looking to see if we actually have off that day.
Anyways, the Pearland, Texas show is November 12th. There's some other ones between that date and the other ones I gave you, but that's the one that means I get to sleep in my own bed. So I'm excited. But come out and see us. We'll be at the Lafayette show. I will have rainbow boas and sand boas. Robert will have racks and cages.
Yep.
So yeah.
No, we're not out of school that day.
Are we out on the Monday after?
No.
For Veterans Day?
We weren't this past year either, which I thought was real. It's the first time I've ever worked on Veterans Day.
Well, that's fucking weird.
We may take the day off and help with setup.
That's true. I might take the day off. Other sponsors? Okay, I'll do our other sponsors. I thought you were going to jump in. I did one, you did one. I thought we were going to go back and forth, but no.
No, I only ever do Roberts.
Well, that's not cool. Also, visit our friends over at Wiregrass Exotics for all your feeder needs and rattlesnakes and all sorts of cool stuff they have there. Check them out in Ozark, Alabama. You can't miss it because if you're driving from Troy to Dothan, it's the only thing. So, and there's a Walmart. There's a Walmart and Wiregrass Exotics. So check them out. No, I'm missing somebody.
Our giveaway.
Oh, our giveaway. You told me to wait, though.
Yeah, but you can still talk about it.
That's true. So our giveaway is up here on the wall behind me. There's a picture of it on our Facebook page, but it is the mandala, the chameleon mandala from our friends at Crafty Gargoyles. You should definitely go over and check out Crafty Gargoyles on Facebook. Just if you need art for your snake room, if you need to get a gift for somebody that's an animal person or a non-animal person, they make tons of non-animal related things, but amazing mandalas. We're giving away this one. All you had to do was post a picture of your US Art membership on the post on our Facebook page, and you're entered. I'm going to wait till the end of the day. I was going to give it this show and give it away this show. I'll give it away next
Yeah.
week.
I mean, if somebody's listening tonight and they haven't done it yet, they should be able to go to USARC.
That is true.
Join USARC, send us their link, and then it counts for the giveaway.
Yeah. So I'll wait till midnight tonight, and then we'll cut it off then. And then,
yes, that's
and then
only
we'll give
fair.
it away next week on the podcast.
Absolutely.
That's fine. It gives me another week of it hanging on my wall. So
Mhm.
I'm cool with that. So yes, our friends at Crafty Gargoyle, that's our giveaway. Also, I still love the fact that we are working together with VivTech products, and you can get the discount code. It's a 15% discount code. It's Gumbo22 at checkout when you order your new VivTech Sure Sun light bulbs or your UV meter or the snake bags,
I want
whatever you
one of
order.
those.
The UV
I
meter.
want a UV mirror.
We're gonna get one. I want one of those.
Yeah.
But Gumbo22, it's the discount code, the promo code there at the end. Go use that and try out the bulbs. If you haven't tried out the bulbs, once you have, you'll love them because it's peace of mind once you have that thing on. I mean, obviously, like any other UV bulb, you should check it, which is why we need to get the meter. But they have tested them and they last much longer than what you are used to using. And for the price, 100% worth it.
All right, go ahead and bring our guest in so
then
that I
talk about-
can tell my story.
Oh, no, I'm telling your story.
No, because you don't know all the details, and then you can add
I
in.
know the ones that matter.
Well, I will preface the story with
Okay.
the facts.
Okay, here we go. So my mouse keeps disappearing. There it is. Our guest tonight is Ari Flagle. Let's bring Ari in. How's it going, Ari?
Good. How are you guys?
Good.
Good. I'm trying to figure out what to Ari of Reptilandia Reptile Lagoon, or hold on. I got it. This book that I'm holding right here, which is Serpents in the Clouds, which I'm not gonna lie, my listeners know I don't read. I just collect shit tons of books, and I've looked through this because it has amazing pictures.
Oh,
At
thank-
some
Totally
point-
fangirling.
At some point,
just
I'm
so you
totally gonna
know.
read this book because it's amazing.
oh, thank
But we'll get to this about the Boelen's Pythons. The whole thing is fascinating.
You're
But
such a dork.
let's get to Katie's amazing story.
Oh,
from
Okay,
this week.
Ari, you can weigh in, and Robert hasn't heard this yet. So we just got out of school on Friday. Friday was the last day of school. For all of our listeners that know, we had a death in my family, and things have been very crazy the last month. I've been in and out of school, and we've had state
Fast
testing.
forward. Come on.
Shut up. So I have 3 class pets. I have 4, but the guinea pig was already at the house.
But
So
mammals don't count.
I have a bearded dragon. I have a Brazilian horn frog. I have a leopard gecko. So the horn frog, I noticed was his dirt was dry. It was the last day of school. I had like 18 kids in my classroom because they all showed up on the last half day. And I was watering him, and the kids had been using tap water. So I was a little nervous because normally we use bottled water, but with the last month, I had forgotten to bring
Give them
some.
some of that Fiji mountain water.
No.
Oh, okay.
So as I'm giving water, I realize he's not moving around. So I lifted the log, and there he is, all shriveled up. I poked him with the log. He did not move. I
Uh-huh.
panicked because I have a room full of children, and then cried for 45 minutes after school. I didn't even tell James until that night because I felt so horrible. I've had this frog for 2 years. I got him when he was the size of a quarter,
Just
and
saying.
I killed the frog.
You'd make a horrible coroner. Keep going.
So I finally get to the point where I can go to school today to take care of the body. And guess what asshole is alive and
Yeah.
not actually dead?
Wide fucking awake. Just sitting there staring
And
at it.
James was like, I'm going to need you to poke me with a really hard stick if you ever think I'm actually dead.
I may just be sleeping hard.
I texted the people that I got him from, and I was like all upset. And I was like,
she was all ready to bury this animal.
I was. It was
100%
horrible.
alive.
I texted the people back today. I'm like, so guess what asshole is actually alive? And she laughed at me so hard.
One of our funerals boas a few weeks ago when Rachel was on the cruise the first time in March. I walked in there and she's upside down, mouth is on her body, all like open, and I'm like, they don't do that. That's dead. Like, so I opened up her enclosure, reaching and grabbed her, and she's like, "What?"
But see,
And
you
I'm
made
like-
sure she wasn't dead.
Right.
I had a classroom
well,
full of kids and was not
okay.
explaining to them on the last day of school why our frog died. Okay.
She already signed this thing off as dead.
I totally did. And I finally brought myself to going up there today to take care of it.
If that thing had been dead, it had sat in that place for a weekend, and it's an amphibian, and those things go nasty quick. It'd have been gross.
Well,
Gross.
son of a bitch was still alive.
He's alive. He's on our kitchen table downstairs.
Yeah.
Alive. I have a pinky thawing out.
Well, he's
there.
in a tank on our kitchen table.
No, he's just sitting there. I've trained him
loose.
to just sit there on the kitchen table. He's now a kitchen frog.
Asshole.
Oh man.
I cried for like 45 minutes about that thing. Son of a bitch is alive.
Looks
Again.
like Maria and her cat.
Shit. Yes.
Yeah, so that's
Yes.
what was it? She found
A dead cat
a dead
in the road.
and the dead cat in the road, and then she opened her closet.
I don't know if it was in the road.
No. She like got
Buried
the
the
cat,
cat.
buried
Oh,
the
that's right.
cat,
Like,
like
mourned the cat.
grieved for the whole day. Only that night to open a closet
And
in
then
her
it comes
house,
up.
and the cat comes running out of the closet,
Fucking
and she
Pet
was like,
Cemetery.
"What the hell just
Yeah.
happened?" It's a
Uh,
friend of ours.
again, so people
Okay.
out there, make sure things are dead before you bury them. Just give a heads up.
Yeah, thanks, Nathaniel. He's doing great. Asshole. God,
All right.
stupid frog.
Still can't believe that was dead. Ari,
Yeah.
if you'll let's give a short background of you, and then we'll get into some of the really cool things you've done for any of our listeners that haven't heard you on like the 30 million other podcasts you've been on.
Okay, so I've been working with reptiles since I was like, I guess 5 or 6, like catching snakes and stuff, and it turned into like, a passion, like with everybody, like as so many other people have. I don't see myself any different than anybody else. Really, we just like reptiles. So it kind of moved into like my career choice. Like I've always had reptiles, so it was just kind of like a love I had. But I'm also an artist too, so like it was always going back and forth. And professionally, I went to and got a degree, a bachelor's degree in computer and traditional animation. So my background is that. And then on the side, I was doing, herpetoculture and, pursuing herpetology, as a passion and, now as my career. So I've worked in various zoo institutions and private collections and things like that, and got to do some fun stuff. So.
Yeah, I find it very interesting the stuff you've done while not being a traditional academic when it comes to reptiles.
Correct.
Mainly all the stuff that's in this book and all the stories I've heard, like when you're on like NPR and all, that is stuff you normally expect from somebody who is doing a study on something. And I was like, no, I'm just gonna go across the world and try not to get eaten in the middle of the jungle.
Yeah, several times.
And it worked. He didn't get
Yeah.
eaten.
It's it's like like I said, it's a passion, not just with Boelen's pythons, because that's what I really, really enjoy studying and being around and conversing about. I mean, obviously I love all reptiles and turtles and tortoises, all that, and frogs also, yeah, it's hard not to just go at it all the way, as far as like doing it in an academic way as well, like with what I'm trying to achieve, which is answer as much as I can, not only to myself, but to be able to share it with people. So like there's, in the academic avenue is interesting to me as well. I mean, I eventually, once the new facility is up and running, is pursue a master's degree in herpetology. So I can have that as well, and kind of move it into more publications with some of my research stuff. But yeah, I mean, I started out, and I still do consider myself just a herpetoculturist, but my passion for it is made me, I don't say allowed me, because ultimately you're the choice of whatever you decide to do in life. So I've made that choice of devoting 15 plus years to traveling over to these remote places to study this one animal. So yeah.
Well, if you work on your master's degree, I know a guy. You can go through Dr. Zach Loafman, who we had on last week, and get your master's degree there.
Zach's the one that's going to be doing it with me.
That's what I figured.
Nice.
And then you can intern at your own job.
Exactly. Yeah, we talked about this a number of years ago, and I just said, "Hey, man," I was like, "I want to do this. I want to do this still. It's I've got this. I want to have a master's degree in this field." And but I'm like, he's like, "All right, well, let's just wait till you finish building the zoo first." And I said, "Okay, cool, we can do that." So and then COVID and all that stuff happened, so it's kind of like pushed everything back. So yep. So the future. So I'm still young.
Yeah, and you totally like. Everybody talks about like citizen scientist, and Ari's like, yeah, no, I am a citizen scientist.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Like, I want to know. Like, there's a question. Like, it's like everyone's like, oh, what are you specifically trying to figure out? I'm like, there's nothing specific. I'm trying to gather everything and anything I possibly can, and then look at it later. And compare it, and then it's like, oh yeah, you want nesting biology? Sure, I got that. Oh, you want environmental biology, soil samples? Oh yeah, sure, it's no problem. It's nice. It's nice to have that in my Rolodex, I guess.
Well, and the Boelen's python is an interesting one. Just everything about it. One, it's super popular now because of things like Instagram. Like take shiny black snake into sun and people automatically love it, even if they know nothing about the snake.
Exactly. It's funny. I get into the topic a lot of people about with social media, and it's such a powerful tool. You can achieve incredible things with it, but it's also devastating in so many fucking ways. And that's just the hard thing with, just being able to differentiate that. Is attention good? That also comes back with negative attention to it. Is somebody saying they just want it because it's pretty, as opposed to, really understanding what it is, so yeah, so it's a slippery slope,
Well, I worry about that, and luckily the price tag. I go two ways when it comes to the price tag on something like a Boelen's. Luckily, the price tag keeps those people that from going on Instagram going, pretty black snake, let me get one. They don't, because it's out of the price range. But then also, I fear that, and we've talked about it before on this show, that there are people in the private hobby who are very good at reproducing certain species that other people that have worked years and years on and can't get done. Just there's something about how they do it or whatever. And I fear that this price tag on this kind of snake stops that.
Completely agree. Not just with Boelens, but with so many different species. But Boelen, I particularly have always maintained a high price tag, which I feel is a good thing to a level. I mean, however, an exorbitant amount of money for an animal is absolutely asinine, in my opinion. And not only is it a quick rich scheme based off of something like that, that's just the popularity for that year. It also affects the animals 150% in the wild too, because with Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all these things, it's such a powerful tool that we can utilize to talk to people. But everybody in the world typically have some sort of social media outlet and access. So particularly with Boelen, people over in Indonesia and such can see how popular it is to have this animal. They can also see how expensive they are. And it's like, oh, I know somebody, my uncle knows somebody that could get one of those things. And then they just start going through thinking they're going to make all this money, where there's a lot of legality issues with it, as far as even being able to have the animal leave from point A to point B and to make it to, to a collection. So it's a dangerous area. It really can bite things in the ass really quick. So I'm hoping it doesn't turn into that kind of an area, which sadly a lot of it is. So, and here's my dog walking in front of me.
So I'm going to be completely honest. I know nothing about this species that we're talking about. However, isn't that a common thing where people are like, oh, this will make me a quick buck, and then like all of that happen? Doesn't that happen with multiple species, like not just this particular snake?
Of course. I mean, you've got, in herpetoculture, when we're keeping animals, obviously you're doing it as a hobby, but, you also have to pay to feed, your animals. You've got to, be able to pay for, water filtration if you're using that, electricity, just standard maintenance and all that stuff adds up, but not even the cost of the animals. So that is not an uncommon thing to deal with. But, just with the way it's, perceived in so many different areas, as far as there could be a negative attachment to it with, the want factor is the big thing, and a lot of times that outweighs a lot. And I don't want, and the other thing too is that, they should maintain a price, in my opinion, that's relatively high, because they're a special animal. Not to say that some of these $20 and $10 animals are not. This particular animal is just a little different, just with the accessibility to acquire them. Things like that. And it also, unfortunately, cuts out a lot of people, like you were saying earlier, that, I mean, I know some people that are absolutely incredible hobbyists that have a just knack for working with animals, but they're broke as shit, So I'm one of those people too. Like, I love working with reptiles, and I don't know how I am able to spend as much money as I do, because I don't hardly make enough money. So but it really eliminates a lot of the people that, because we ultimately want to be able to reproduce these animals to where we have captive sustainability. So these animals are, can be enjoyed. And that way we can alleviate, wild collection and, wild pressure and stuff like that too. So it's a double-edged sword on a lot of it.
It's funny. I was watching. So Dave Kaufman just got back from Africa, and he was there for like a month doing some stuff on to make a really cool ball python video. I know I said really cool and ball python in the same sentence. I know. And
I wanted to check and make sure you weren't having like a stroke.
I know I shit on ball pythons, but I'm very interested in watching this video because it's the natural history and it's them in the wild. It's not, hey, look at this cool 5-gene morph and how much I can get for it.
That's kind of cool.
But the very interesting thing he pointed out was while he was in these areas, there's like no fucking wildlife in these areas. There's no large mammals, no birds. They've eaten them all. And the only things he found on a regular basis were the snakes and lizards because there's still an export for these and there's still a value for them as an export, as an animal. The locals aren't eating them. They're still collecting them and they still make money off of them. And so, I always shit on the fact that we still import ball pythons, but I thought about that. I mean, if we weren't paying to import ball pythons, they'd probably be extinct in that area. People would have eaten them to death by now.
But so like I said, it sustains these people. Like it's like a fine line almost, but I mean, who are we to say that you can't, sustain your families? And I run into that question a lot when I'm doing my work, because like I'm seeing these people that are collecting, babies in the field that I know are going into the market, but I can't basically tell them. And it's taken me years and years and years, these local people to trust me to be able to go to these areas. So that way I can get this information to help us in the long run. So we don't have to give that wild, pressure. But who am I to say to these people they can't collect these snakes and sell them? Because some of these people won't see money for months, and if they sell an animal, not just a ball and eye, if they find a cross, like a Papuan death adder or a scrub python or something like that, and they sell it, that could feed their families for, weeks at a time, even longer. So it's really detrimental, especially with the ball python thing, since it's been going on for so long. And, there's multiple places there and facilities there that export these ball pythons out because they're so important for these people to survive. My God.
Yeah, it's weird for a Westerner who it's, if we're hungry, we can go down to the corner and get burger from Burger King, and it's hard for us to judge. I say hard. It's very easy for people to judge, but it's hard for a lot of people to understand how difficult just simple food or simple things are to these people in places like you've been. And so, it's got to be, especially when you first get there as, I'm here to save the animal. Oh shit, you're taking all the animals and shipping them away, and then you want to tell them stop. But
yeah, exactly. And it's like, I've really built up these long-lasting relationships with a number of people that I visit, and it's, this is what they've done, historically, so it's like, the old, wildlife. But they're the people that live out in these places. So it's you really have to go there with these people to really understand these animals and be able to experience and be able to find the information you're looking for. It's always interesting for me to explain to them too, that I'm not there to buy animals. I'm not there to, to set up some business with them. I'm there. I just want to follow them in the mountain and take photos and temperatures and, and examine, the soil and the plants and things like that, and kind of sit there for the big picture to see how we can maintain these animals' activity. So
you have to learn you're not competition.
Exactly. And it's taken me 14 years to basically do that now.
Damn. That is crazy.
But even that being said, it's still always, a common question, so it's like, I always pay, I always give them money for their time, letting me be a part of their family that week or those 2 weeks or however long I'm staying at the time. That's how I'm basically, sustaining them, by giving them money for their family as opposed to going out and doing this.
And so the biology of this snake, just based on where it is located and how it lives, also is another thing that makes it such an interesting snake, because it looks very much like, if you're used to carpet pythons, it looks very much like just a supersized carpet python. Like it's a it's your kind of Australian Indo area python. But I mean, this thing lives up in the mountains where it's cold. I mean, it's not around people that often. Give a little background just like kind of on where this is located, where you're having to go to just find these guys.
So, I mean, and also I'll give like a real quick breakdown on what a Boelen's python is too, just in case anybody, is like, oh, what's going on? Serpents of the cloud. I have no idea what that is. So Boelen's pythons, like you were saying, they're a medium to large size python. You know, I guess a real good idea as far as, you know, body proportion would be like we're just saying, like a carpet python or a scrub python. Genetically, morphologically, they're more or less related to scrub pythons. It was based off of an incision. Whoops. I think 2014 or something like that, where they placed them with Amethystina in that group. But they're visually stunning. They're jet black with vertical, bands, yellow bands coming up from their belly all the way up to their mid body, and sometimes even completely candy caning in certain situations. And then they have like forward facing yellow to pale white stripes up along their face. They're just a beautiful snake. The environment is very different from what you would expect to find something large. The habitat itself is very interesting. It's very cool. It's very wet. It's always raining. There's always moisture around, and you wouldn't really expect to see a large animal that size. And like when I'm saying large, you're looking, anywhere from 8 to 12 feet. Figure on an average is about 9.5 animal to be out there. So they're very specialized, and it's just an incredible animal by all accounts.
Yeah, and how risky is it for you to where you're going? Because I mean, this is not somewhere where, Westerners are normally traveling to, right?
No. This is there are tourists in certain areas that I transit to, but the areas I go, I'm the only white person there, and it's very dangerous every time. I always have anxiety right before I leave because obviously I'm leaving my home and my family and stuff like that. But it's a dangerous place. It is not a tourist trip by any means. It is lots of work. It's expensive to get certain places because it's all travel essentially to get there. It takes about 3 to 4 days just to get to the spots that I go to where I find the snakes. So it's dangerous. I mean, there's a lot of things to deal with. Just air travel in general. I mean, these areas are not very modern. I mean, they're getting better and better and better, but they're still behind us a little bit. So and then some of these remote villages I go to, I mean, you disappear, you're gone, nobody's going to see you out there. Things like that. So it's a dangerous place. I got really sick one time out there, and I thought it was the first time I ever really got scared in all the trips out there, because I was just like so miserable, and I'm sitting in this little hut, this abandoned hut, and I'm just like going in and out of like some psychedelic scenario because this fever, and like I'm gonna die in this hut, nobody's gonna find me, it's like, but I woke up.
I cannot even wrap my brain around this. Like this is shit you see in a movie,
yeah, it's
or
like
on some like
stuff.
National Geographic documentary. Like this is not real life. Like this is crazy.
Pretty wild. I've seen some really crazy things, and I've experienced even more crazy things. It's just like when I went there the first time, I was told like you either love it or you hate it, and it like after that point I could feel it like in my veins, like it was in my body, like it was it's an absolutely incredible place. There's so much culture, there's so much like life, if that makes sense. Still, you really get to experience people and what they deal with on a daily basis, that we overlook so much. So it's like a real kind of almost, in a lot of ways, it's a real spiritual scenario in some of these spots, especially when, I'm standing in the middle of a village making a gigantic pile of diarrhea because I drank water from the creek the earlier day. So
it's got to be humbling also, though.
It is. Yeah.
Not necessarily the getting sick in the middle of the village part, but, knowing that you are the only, if not one of the few people that they let in to their society.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's taken like close to 14, 15 years to really build this up. And I mean, it's like, and initially, I mean, it's really strange too, because of COVID, I've been gone for 2 years. I mean, I'm going to be going back really soon, fortunately, but I haven't seen these people in 2 years. I mean, I still am in contact with them, weekly, but it's some of these people, like it took me forever to get them to trust me, to really go there and to see that I wasn't a threat, or I wasn't trying to impede in their area or their businesses or whatever they're doing. So, yeah, it's taken a lot. And even still, sometimes it's still questionable on some of these places. Like, I mean, the mindset on some of the local people there is very different from, the Western way, or, in some of the other ways of the world to think. I mean, there's still very, primitive areas that a lot of these people still believe in primitive thoughts, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's just simply, sometimes there's not words to describe a question or an answer, because it's just not in the vocabulary of some of these people, which makes it difficult sometimes.
And I'm assuming you kind of have to enter in with the idea of you're not there to teach them or tell them how your ways are. You're just simply an observer. And
exactly.
Because I assume you come in there trying to say, look, that's not what it is, or don't do this, then you're out. There's no way.
Yeah, I'm the crazy white guy that comes back twice a year to go up to the mountain in sweat and be in pain and get sick to see these snakes, and to risk, my life climbing these mountains and stuff. And it's really interesting. Like, I remember one time I think it was like one of my early trips when I was out there. I remember I speak enough Indonesian since all the times that I've been there to get by and everything like that, to do what I need to do. And I continue to learn more and more as I'm interacting with my friends and stuff out there. But I didn't speak any at that time, just like, yes or no, thank you. That was about it. And there was apparently I was in a village where I was at, and I was in a hut, and there was a woman that was having menstrual cramps, and there was and I had overheard my guide at the time talking and translating, because I asked what was wrong, because she was like, really looked like she was in pain. And he's like, oh, she's having, period cramps. And I was like, I got Tylenol in my bag here. So I pulled it out, just not thinking, giving it to her, just being a nice guy. And the medicine man in the village, even though he wasn't like, wearing like antlers and crocodiles, hanging on stuff, he was a very normal looking person in just some dirty jeans. He got super pissed at me because, not only was I taking away his business, that what he does in the village, but I was giving her medicine that was better than what he was giving too. So you've got to learn that you're just there. You're a visual bystander, and you buy vegetables and food to feed the village and contribute with what you can, and that's it.
So Darren had the same question I was going to ask, but I was going to ask, what's the weirdest thing you've had to eat? But Darren says, what do you eat when you're staying with the villagers?
Oh, so like, I mean, I stay with a tribe. They're called the Dani, D-A-N-I, and they're predominantly farmers. So I mean, most of the Papuans that are up in the highlands, are farmers in some capacity. So it's a lot of like, sweet potatoes, which I love sweet potatoes. But whenever I get back, I'm always sick and tired of eating sweet potatoes, because it's a lot of time what I eat there. But eat sweet potatoes, rice, noodles. You get some chicken every once in a while. It's not like, these giant fat chickens that we get in the steak. It's like a real stringy little guy, and pig on occasion. Pigs are are like a high commodity there, and they're valued as a social status, almost like the more pigs you have, the richer you are in a way. So you eat a pig for like a special occasion or something like that, but you don't eat them like all the time. So, but you typically eat a lot of like the normal stuff, but it's all like, rices and things like that. I think I ate sardines for like 2 weeks straight once. That was bad. And lots of cup of noodles. I like cup of noodles, but I think the weirdest thing I've ate voluntarily or involuntarily.
Either way, involuntary worries me, but go ahead.
Okay, so voluntary, I think the strangest thing, I had flying fox. And I won't do that again, just because it's such a carrier of bad viruses.
You're the one that brought COVID.
Yeah, right. Because it's funny, like,
Mouse and pangolin.
we laugh about that, but like, do you remember when was it the Zika or whatever virus, or the
Zika
came through? I was one of the first people to get Zika, and that I thought of. But on that trip, I had eaten fruit bat, and I immediately I came back home and I remember getting just super sick and like feverish. And I thought I brought back something from the fruit bat, which was terrible. But then I realized when I saw all these red spots start up on my feet and everything like that, and I was like, oh, okay, it's Zika, so I'm good. But so I had fruit bat. It was actually delicious. And then unintentionally, I ate dog, which I didn't really care for, just because just the way it was prepared, I think. So
I can't imagine dog is like a greasy, stringy kind of food. It can't be that good.
it was real stringy when I ate it. They had the gentleman that gave it to me had accidentally ran it over on his moped that morning, and his wife told him to go out into the street and at least cook it so he didn't waste it.
I was just about to say, so it wasn't wasted.
About 20. Go ahead. Good.
She sent him to the airport to work because he worked as a porter, and she sent him to the airport to work with it as his lunch, and he offered it to me then.
It's like punishment. You killed this, now you have to eat it.
So in probably 1999.
The way they offered it to me, because I was with my good friend on that trip, and he met this gentleman he knew that had it, and they offered it to me because they thought it was funny, and I didn't understand what they were saying. And then they started saying that it was first, they're like, oh no, it's wild pig. And I'm like, no, it's not wild pig. I can tell what that is. It's not wild pig. It's like, oh, it's chicken. I'm like, no, it's not chicken. They're like, oh, it's a cassowary. I'm like, it's not a cassowary. It's not poultry. Quit lying. They're like, oh, it's human. And I'm like, it's not human. They're like, and I'm like, it's dog, isn't it? And they said, yeah, it's dog. And I was like, oh, okay. So they thought it was funny. I ate a bunch of it, but it's like, whatever.
We back in, I think it was like 99, I went on a hunting trip in deep South Texas, and a bunch of the guys I was with wanted to go across the border into Nuevo Laredo, which back when you could do that without getting murdered.
Yeah, right.
And the wait to get back was like 2 hours at the international bridge. Well, the taxi driver was like, I know a faster way.
Oh shit.
I'm like, I'm not swimming, bro.
Yeah.
So he's like, no, I'm going to take you to the other crossing on the other end of town. He spoke really good English. So he's like flying. Have you ever ridden in a third world taxi? It's like,
we rode in one in San Francisco. It was pretty similar.
Yeah. So he's like going down alleyways at like 60 miles an hour, and there's barely enough room to clear the mirrors.
Oh yeah.
And this freaking skinny dog runs out in front of us, and he rolls it. Boom, 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 boom. You feel it go under. And I'm like, hey man, you just hit that dog. He goes, that's okay. It'll be a taco tomorrow. I'm like, oh shit.
My God.
Okay. Remind me not to eat tacos when I'm down here. That has stuck with me for 20 something years.
Yep. Well, it was stringy. I'm sure it's been better, but it was real stringy and dry. So
maybe she was just a bad cook.
It probably was. I mean,
it's still dog. I don't.
Yeah.
No.
So, have you eaten cassowary?
I have not. I've not eaten cassowary. I certainly, would if it was offered to me in a scenario where I was in a traditional setting. I wouldn't go to like a restaurant and eat it because that would be like just, wrong in my opinion. But yeah, I've never had that. I've never eaten human.
How close are you to areas in that area where historically, if they don't still do it, historically they eat humans? Oh,
I'm like right in the backyard. I had dinner with a guy from a region who's from a tribe called Angruk, and they were historically cannibals. So I had dinner with him. He's actually in the book. You can see a photo of him. It's called Dinner with a Cannibal. And I've met people that have eaten human before in the past. There's reports of it still going on. I don't know if it really is. I mean, I'm sure they're killing people still like far out, from different villages and stuff, but I don't think anybody's really eating it anymore. I think the last recorded ones were like in the late 60s, I think.
Just feel like you should go over there with a sign that says, I've got worms.
Yeah, right.
Don't eat me. I have worms.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Oh man, that's just. Have you ever thought of like taking someone over there to like film this whole process and what you do, or would that just kind of ruin your friendship with some of them?
Well, I have taken people. Let's see, I took one person once, and I won't do that again. And
like you won't take that specific person again.
Oh yeah, I won't take that specific.
Oh,
person.
okay.
But it really kind of freaked me out because it was like, it was kind of almost like a moment where I had to like, it was a come to Jesus moment for that person. I was like, hey, this is the real deal, where we're at. And it was just not what I wanted. I mean, we achieved the data I was looking for and documented a female and eggs and everything, which was fine. But the process involved of it was just not what I had, what I wanted to. It was just too dangerous, in my opinion, to risk stuff like that. So if I did, I mean, I get asked by people all the time, and it's they've got like, everyone's like, oh, I'm a mountain climber and all this stuff. I'm like, oh, that's great. I'm sure you can climb it and do all that stuff, but it's more than just being physically able to do it. There's a lot of like psychological aspect of it too, and it's just a lot of it is I've worked so hard to build a positive relationship with these few people that I work with, that I'm terrified that if I brought the wrong person or a scenario would present itself, that it would ruin my chances of continuing to do what I do. And I just can't risk that,
Because I felt like Dave Kaufman would be good, but then you've got this like 6+ foot giant walking around. He's going to stick out like a sore thumb.
I think he'd be a poor choice.
And Dave's a great guy, but he could be a little over the top, I'm sure. And,
licking their lips.
yeah. They'd be like, he could feed us for
That's
a year.
Like, Ari's little, he blends in, but Dave would be like, oh, see that guy, that's going to feed us for a year. We're good.
Yeah.
They'd be looking, because he's what, 6 or 7.
He's got to be 6'5".
Yeah.
He's a little taller than you are. Yeah.
They'd be smiling and licking their lips. No, I'm just joking. They wouldn't do that. He'd be fun.
Yeah.
He'd be the biggest person in Indonesia.
Probably.
He'd probably make a great video.
Oh, so let's get That's the Boelens. As much as cool as it is, and there's a lot more questions, I'm sure. Come up with let's shoot to the zoo, because I've got a zoo background. Katie's got a zoo background, and I'm always interested.
Been to a zoo.
You've been to a zoo. That's true.
I feel like I live in a zoo sometimes.
I'm always interested in how setups are, because when I go to a zoo, I'm different looking at setups than other people. Like other people, like, look at the pretty animal, and I'm thinking, all right, well, how does the keeper get in there? How hard is this thing to clean? And all the different things that go into it.
Where's the drain for the pool?
Where's the drain? Drain for the pool is always our big one. I'm like, I've gone places where there's not a drain. I'm like, who the fuck designed this thing? There's no drain.
They got to throw a pump in there and pump it out.
The casino where I proposed to Katie at a casino, because they had like a alligator exhibit.
Atrium.
This huge atrium with like a lot of like 3 or 4 foot alligators.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Massive. There's no fucking drain in the entire thing.
That's not cool.
No.
They got to go in there with a submersible pump.
They have to go in and pump it all out and then scoot the water all to one side.
He actually talked to the guy that like cleans it and runs it one day, and he was like, "This is hell. Why?"
Yeah. Well, they asked my director at the time, like when they were building it, and he gave them advice, and they took none of it. And I'm like, y'all get what you deserve. When they first set it up, they put fish in it, and they all died. I'm like, well, that's because this is not an aquarium. This is a giant pool, and alligators will do fine, but fish are not really made for this.
Right.
Because it's only like, I don't know, 2 foot deep across the whole thing.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a deal with one of the
alligator parks, and they'll exchange them out.
They exchange them out.
It's
for
no crocodile encounter.
It's no crocodile encounter.
Oh, no.
That place is amazing. But yeah, so when I saw that, I was like, who the fuck designed something without a drain in it? So it's had to be fun going from just a blank slate to designing, because you got ideas for what animals you want and how you want it to be set up from the get-go. You're not having to walk into a pre-done building and go, all right, how can we design this to fit this animal? Yeah,
we built it from a dirt lot to where it's at now. And so like I had been over at the Fort Worth Zoo. I've been working in the herp department there for about 12 years. And I had been very good friends with Quetzal for a long time. Like we traveled around the world together and stuff like that. And we actually ran into each other in Indonesia one time. It was pretty funny. Just like out of the blue. And so I got to utilize a lot of the ideas from like what a working facility, like zoological facility, and how to relate it in a like even more of a user-friendly environment. Like,
well, because folks that haven't been to Fort Worth, that setup is an amazing reptile house.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough. I worked for about a couple months in the original herp before it was torn down. So it was cool to work like in that historical building with, all those incredible people that had started there. And then I got to basically help during construction of the new building, the Mola, which was very cool. And kind of like I remembered everything that I learned from, doing that, or helping with that, I should say, because they had a really cool team there that I kind of just like bothered forever to utilize to Reptilandia out here in Texas. So we wanted something that was going to be practical and user friendly for staff, as well as something that was going to be visually beautiful, stunning, and the education aspect would be just endless. That's what we wanted. We wanted to create a destination, essentially every kid's dream. That's what we wanted to make.
So here's my weird question. Why the location? It just seems so far away from a lot of the bigger cities. Was there a reason for that?
Johnson City is becoming like the new hub of the hill country.
It is. We're so like Johnson City is fantastic. Like my fiance and I have been here for about 3 years now. So we've been working on the project for coming up. I think, this last month was our 3 years here. So that was the start of the construction. But, Johnson City's great. And we're so like located in a really cool place. Like we're an hour outside of San Antonio. We're an hour outside of Austin. We're 3 hours from DFW. And the legality issues in Texas are very easy to work with, especially with what we're doing. And especially in the future too, just with how the industry and the world for that matter is, evolving. So that was the biggest thing as far as Texas being, like it's, coming, we'll do whatever we want kind of scenario is in Texas. But we were like,
stay far away from Florida.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're gonna kind of take this from me. This is Texas, kind of stuff, So, but just legally, it's a safer place for us to do this and create something for everybody.
How big of a facility are y'all? Well, I guess land wise, and then what you've actually built on.
Yeah, so the property we're on is 12 acres. And the facility itself is close to 60,000 square feet. We have our first main building holds 4 temporary holding rooms, like quarantine rooms, and then like off exhibit backup, project rooms and stuff like that. So we have 4 of those, and we have our large gift shop area in there. We also have an ethnographics museum in the first building too that covers like tribal art from around the world that is all particular to, reptile related cultures and beliefs and things like that. So it's really cool. We also have like some preserved specimen things for like herpetoculture and herpetology rather. And then we have a 2-story tropical building. And then a 1-level temperate building, and all of our exhibits are all, how do you say it? Like the bioactive setups, and they're all multi-mixed species. So there's not just one animal on each exhibit. There's going to be multiple animals from that region. So they're all endemic together.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I like mixed species exhibits. Big, where you go and you can look at the whole thing and see something different every time you go and look at it.
Exactly. And we're also seeing a lot of really interesting behavior with, the animals that are in the enclosures together, because they're all from the same environment too. So like we're seeing a lot of, interesting, little quirks we wouldn't necessarily see. And we're also seeing a lot of behavior from these animals that we wouldn't see because we're offering really large enclosures. Like our enclosures are huge. To give you an example, our croc monitor enclosure is going to have giant softshell turtles in it, also Draco lizards in it. We have a waterfall in it. It measures 30 feet by 60 feet.
Oh, damn.
It's gigantic. In the bottom of it is all water. So our exhibits are really, really large. So it gives us an option of being able to let the animals do what they do naturally, as well as incorporate other species into the exhibit as well without having any problem.
So on something like that, so it's croc monitors, and then you're going to have smaller lizards. What is the fear of the croc monitor taking the smaller lizards?
So like that initially was one of our ideas, or our our thoughts, obviously, because we don't want anybody getting eaten in an enclosure. But just with the size of the exhibit we have, with the places for the small Draco lizards to hide, and then just the fact that they're not Salvadori, the crocodile monitors aren't really designed particularly to be feeding, to actively waste that kind of, in my opinion, rather waste that energy on a really small, fast lizard when they'd want to exert that energy for something like prey item that they'd recognize, like a bird or a rodent or something like that, or a larger lizard for that matter. So we're going to kind of hope for that and see what happens. Obviously, we've moved some things around just because they, didn't do well together. But overall, we've had nothing but great success with what we've started so far.
Have you seen any of the behavior? I'm very interested in the Draco lizards. Have you seen any of the flying behavior in there because it's such a large area?
Well, so our croc monitor enclosure is still in construction because that's in our 2-story building still. So we haven't we've got our croc monitors on hand on site we've had, but we don't have our Dracos yet, because the theory with the Dracos in our mind is we want to bring them in right away and put them right in the enclosure to eliminate any kind of unnecessary quarantining stress. We just want them to quarantine when they go right on, especially for something so small. So we haven't been able to get to see the behavior yet, which we're really hoping to see. But I've worked with them before in the past, and they do. It's really interesting how they kind of just like jump really fast to the next tree trunk and then hug it and wrap around the other side. So
that'd be cool. So of all these exhibits, what is the one you're like the most proud of? You can't wait to see all set up and done. And there's got to be like a favorite in there, right?
Oh, well, we have so many really incredible ones. So our temperate building is 100% completed. So in that building, we have a really large European exhibit with mixed species and aquatic turtles. We've got a large Floridian mangrove swamp with big eastern rattlesnake or eastern diamondbacks and diamondback terrapins and Haitian curlytails and rat snakes and things like that. We've got our mang vipers that are in that building as well. We've got our Boelen enclosure in there too. We've got a wet Madagascar exhibit with a bunch of different neat zonosaur lizards and small diving skinks, things like that. And a dry Madagascar. We've got timber rattlesnake or canebrakes. I'm sorry, blacktail rattlesnakes in our temperate building. Our Ethiopian mountain vipers, the Parviocula, are in there as well. We've just got some really, really exciting exhibits in there. And then on the tropical building, like we have an entryway fly river turtle enclosure that's 60 feet tall. It goes from the floor all the way to the top ceiling.
Oh,
and then I'd say it's close to about 20 feet wide. And it's just stunning. So obviously that's going to be really, really cool to see finished. And then also the monitor enclosure too. But it's just, we have a lot of really cool enclosures that are just going to be amazing to see done.
Yeah, I foresee a Reptile Gumbo podcast field trip.
Yes.
Of course.
Sounds like a plan. I love a good road trip.
Oh, you'll love that area out there too. It's nothing but vineyards and now a reptile zoo.
Sweet.
Exactly. Yeah, I still can't get at vineyards and the breweries and all that stuff. It's just like they're literally hundreds of them. It's crazy. It's a cool place. And Fredericksburg's out there also, which is a really neat place to.
And then the LBJ National Grasslands are there too, which is Johnson City. It's
cool.
That's awesome place to go visit. That whole, and if you like peaches, there's like peach orchards and people selling peach everything.
I wonder if they're as good as Chilton County peaches.
So a lot of times when I would come home from Junction, because I hate I-10 so much, I would go up and go through Fredericksburg and then go through and skirt the south of Austin. And then that way it took about an extra 30 minutes, but it was so much better than driving I-10 on a Sunday.
Oh, yeah. It's a nice drive too. It's like, and you can, I've seen coach whips cruising around, Emery's rat snakes and stuff like that creeping around here. Cool. It's a really nice area. And I think it's really going to serve it well too, like with what we're trying to do. I mean, everybody here is so excited, and we're just excited to open up, get this thing going.
Do you have any plans for crocodilians?
Oh yeah, definitely. So we currently have an enclosure set up for the Osteolaemus, so the African dwarf crocodiles. So we're going to be doing African dwarf crocs inside the tropical building, and then as we open, probably we will eventually do an expansion where we're going to put in like an outdoor large croc pool. So I'd like to have like a big salty or a big Homistoma or something like that out there. But that'll probably be in a couple of years. I'd like to, once we're open, I put a symposium hall so that way we can start hosting events in that thing and stuff like that right at the facility. So those are the plans.
Should get some Chinese alligators. Those are my favorite. We went to Crocodile Encounter and they had a ton of Chinese alligators.
Yes, like it's because like we were wanting to do Chinese alligators over the Osteolaemus, and it just worked out where the Osteolaemus seemed to be the avenue we're going to head. I already started designing enclosures with Osteolaemus in mind. So if that doesn't work out, we're definitely going to try to see if we can procure some Chinese alligators from an institution because they're super cool.
We know a place.
I know a guy.
He's going to have a surplus of them.
Yep.
Yeah, we already spoke.
With all that space, there's got to be a lot of cool outdoor stuff. I mean, I know it gets a little cooler in the winter there, but there's a lot of outdoor stuff like tortoise wise. I'm sure you could do, and then crocodilians, maybe some large lizard cages outside.
Yeah, so we definitely want to utilize like a lot of this environment that we're in. I mean, we've got great environment for a lot of the desert species and just like the really like stuff that really likes to bask hot. So like a lot of varanids and stuff. So we're talking about doing some outdoor enclosures as well. Definitely, we're gonna have we have a tortoise yard planned for. I think we're wanting to do flops, if we can do those, and do a nice tortoise yard out there. It's just I'm still terrified of the the cold, the breezes out here. So it's like we're trying to double check and triple check everything before pushing to do some outdoor stuff.
It'd be cool to do like a big outdoor pen of like how am I brain just going? What's the lizard that's like a bearded dragon, but it's not a bearded dragon in America?
Mastics.
Nope.
Sun gazers.
Chuckwallas.
Chuckwallas. Yeah.
Oh, I got it right.
I know what I was thinking.
Like a big outdoor chuckwalla exhibit would be really
Big
cool.
moment for me.
So I have chuckwallas already, and I have a small group of desert iguanas too that will be for an exhibit.
Oh, that's gonna be cool. I've grown. I'm lazy. That's why I own mostly snakes and not lizards. But I've grown to really like chuckwallas, and I'm amazed that like they're just not bigger in the hobby. I can't figure out why they seem so much cooler than a bearded dragon. But
yeah,
I love the idea of just a big communal exhibit with like of these things that run and hide in rocks, come out of rocks, and bask. It would just be so cool to see.
Yeah, they're I think what it is, I think they're the chuckwallas that I've worked with, just I don't know, like bearded dragons have just like such a different personality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It could be also that they've been bred just so much that it's just kind of like now they're just like evolved to be just potatoes, but chuckwallas are definitely interesting. I think one of the things is a lot of people just don't get them hot enough. I've got big giant like 80-gallon or 100-gallon black rubber trough and I set them all up outside, and I leave them outside, and on top of that I put like heating elements on top of like rocks too, so I get them really hot. And they seem to be fine, but they're a very cool lizard. They're really neat. It's like they're like a big childhood nostalgia for me, because growing up in Arizona, like I remember as a kid going in the desert for days. It felt like catching desert iguanas and collared lizards and chuckwallas and seeing all that cool stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait to come out there. I saw some videos, and I saw the exhibit where you had all the art, which is really neat because it's not just a zoo. You've got all the different like the tribal mask and all the different carvings, and that kind of stuff is really cool too. Yeah,
it's like I wanted it to be something special, and I've always been impressed with the Chiricahua Desert Museum with Bob and Sherry Ashley. And if you have not been there, I highly recommend going. It's a very special place, and it's kind of like how I envisioned a lot of the museum aspect of it too, because they have a really fantastic like historical reptile museum in there with just really incredible pieces of art and just things from history, like Caulfield stuff and old Herper stuff like that. I think they've got Joseph Laszlo's snake hook on exhibit and cool stuff like that, and so like I wanted to do that, but on a different aspect with because like I'm an artist and I love collecting tribal art especially, and obviously New Guinea's in my heart, so I'm always collecting New Guinea art. So like a lot of that stuff has crocodile, lizard, snake motif incorporated in it, and I can show that to people. So if they're afraid of a snake and stuff like that, they can come in and they can look at the art. It just kind of gives it just another little flair to have.
Yeah, it's a place for someone's mom or grandma to sit while everybody else goes and walks around and look at the reptiles.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's in the whole facility is air conditioned, so it's all in there. So
that's a huge thing in Texas. Eh?
Yeah.
Joke.
You can pull a crowd just by having air conditioning.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we're the AC. You got to have it. You have to have it out here. It's just so hot.
So, how big of a staff are you talking about running this place?
So initially, the way we're doing it right now with how I work with Quetzal and everything is he comes out every other month or every 3 weeks out from the Costa Rica facility out here. And it's myself and my fiance currently maintaining the collection. And then I do a lot of the rock work, or I do all the rock work and the tree work and all that stuff too. So when we open, we're going to bring on another animal staff member. And we just want to have like a really kind of like close knit family group that's running this. So we're all basically, you know, in each other's mind to an extent, you know, with what we want to do. And, you know, eventually we'll probably, you know, grab a couple more people to help out too, as we start expanding with certain things. But, you know, we'll just have, you know, cashier and then, you know, a gift shop person, somebody that's kind of like walk around and make sure people don't take my shit.
Always important. Always
Yes.
important.
Yeah.
Holding on to your shit is important.
Mhm.
Oh my god.
So projected opening date for everything. What do you think it is?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, I'll be honest with you guys. Like we've you know, jumped forward, you know, back and forward on dates and stuff like that, just with the construction delays and everything. You know, realistically, we could, you know, I'm hoping we could open, you know, I don't even know. I'm trying to think in a few months, I would say realistically.
Oh, that's cool.
That's not bad.
Yeah. At least to be like a soft opening, you know, to do that and then do like the big grand, you know, bazang, you know, thing like that.
Has the area been very accepting of the whole idea, the, you know, local businesses and all that?
Yeah, it's really surprising to me because, you know, obviously we're in the hill country, you know, we've got a lot of hillbillies out here too, you know, and, you know, not everybody likes snakes, you know, but everybody's super excited about it because it's something else to do. And it's, you know, and like a lot of the people that, you know, come out, like we've given like a couple private, like sneak little tours. Like I had some, you know, some neighbors that came over and I was like, hey, this is what we're doing. And they're just like absolutely blown away when they come in. They're like, are you kidding me? And I'm like, no, I mean, everybody's like blown away when they walk in because of the size of the facility and what we're doing has not been done before to this point. So, and then we've got also like, you know, natural skylights for all of our enclosures. We've got UV transmittable, plexiglass that's going in all of our units. So we have natural skylight access for everything as well as supplemental heat too. So, but yeah, like the post office, like super excited. Everybody in town's excited. I just want to open.
I imagine you're excited just to get people in the door.
Oh, I'll be excited. The day I can, flip the sign where it says closed, I'm going to be crying. You know, it'll be great.
All right. So I want to go to the question that we asked this week. And again,
This was hard for me.
Well, we can talk about that.
So let's talk.
So Posta said, what does the word herpticulture mean to you? And we got one big response. It's from our normal sit-in co-host, Megan. I'll go ahead and read her response. It's a book here. So let me get through Megan's. But she said, this is a great question and the one that I've actually not given much thought to. I feel like there's three different types of herp people. The ones who are in it for the money, the flippers, the people who are looking for the next thrill and want to be edgy. The casual keeper, they have a lizard, maybe a snake or two, but they don't participate in anything beyond that. And then you have everyone else, the breeders, the keepers, the double digit conservationist, the podcasters, the herpers, the people that are part of, the whole culture there. And she says the internet definition of herpticulture is the keeping of live reptiles and amphibians in captivity. But these people are herpticulture encapsulated. There's U.S. ARC members, there's educators, they're wildly passionate about these animals, not just as pets, but as vital members of the animal kingdom whose existence is so very necessary to our planet. They're working to foster curiosity in the next generation of zookeepers, wildlife biologists, and enthusiasts. Herpticulture is so much more than just keeping reptiles and amphibians. It's working to make the hobby better in every way and bringing people together over a shared passion. And it's funny, I had a couple other responses that were very much shorter. They were simply, one person said everything reptile, and the other person said keeping and breeding reptiles, which I guess on the surface, they're not wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm more with Megan here. I think when I think herpticulture, it's the whole thing. Like your facility is part of herpticulture. All the different, again, podcasts and Dave Kaufman, all the different YouTubers. That's part of herpticulture. It's a community to me.
Those YouTube influencers are certainly part of herpticulture. You know, I agree with you. I think it encompasses everything. And then you could, go into like, obviously the breeders and stuff like that. But I mean, if you've got a person that's got a leopard gecko and a person that's got, a sulcata tortoise, I'd still consider them herpticulturists, because they keep reptiles. They're learning about it, hopefully, and they're studying them, hopefully, and stuff like that too. So.
See, and I think that's why the question was so difficult for me, because it's such a broad response.
It is
There
for
is
us.
so much that could be included under that umbrella
Exactly.
that I didn't know where to start or what to even discuss, because like our daughter has a fat tail gecko.
Yeah.
And she watches YouTube videos and she reads books on animals and she talks to you and she talks to other vendors when we go to shows, and she has intelligent conversations with someone. Robert's
Same with
son
Robert's
is
son.
the same way with when it comes to genetics and things like that. And so to me, they both fall under that umbrella, even though they're only 11 and 12 years old. You know, with that being said, I'm not necessarily raising, because they're not my children, but my third graders in my classroom are becoming herpetoculturists because we have those class pets. You're about to start a reptile zoo at your school.
Yeah.
You're going to be creating a new generation of herpetoculturists. And so I felt like the question was so broad that I didn't really know how to answer it.
Fair enough. I agree though, but I mean, it sounds like you guys are raising up some little herpetoculturists.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, the person that owns a leopard gecko, that's part of herpetoculture, because that person who owns that lizard is going to love that lizard, and they're going to tell other people about that lizard and how great that lizard is, and they may change the mind of one or two other people when it comes to reptiles in general.
Yeah, and I guess also like the term herpetoculturist, I guess it doesn't necessarily have to mean you're reproducing. I think it's the fact of the enjoyment, the observation, and the care involved with working with the animal, as well as, also encompassing the environment, everything about that animal, like where it lives. Yeah, that's herpetoculture in my opinion too. So I think it doesn't necessarily have to, I think it could be a very large blanketed term to define it. And then, I mean, you could also say, a hobbyist, but I mean, is a hobbyist a herpetoculturist? I think so.
I also think that it also falls back on how educated you are. Megan, our fill-in co-host that we have, she does educational programs. She actually has one coming up at her local neighborhood community center on June 12th. And she has people that are terrified of reptiles, but they come out to her talks to learn more about them. And in my opinion, those people also fall
become part of it.
They become part of the culture because they are learning about it. Like I had two students this year whose families bought reptiles because of the reptiles in our classroom.
That's cool.
Like the parents messaged me and they were like, "Hey, this is all we ever hear about. I did some research. This is what we're going to get. What are your thoughts?" And I'm like, I think that's an awesome idea. Like if that's what you want for your family pet, go for it.
Yep. Great. Because like, it's not just, it's instilling responsibility in these children, which is great. And it's also inspiring, new passions and new interests, which are these animals, and, certainly by, I would say that they definitely fall into that category of herpetoculture because that's what they're doing. Herpetoculture is certainly a culture, because we are definitely interesting people. So it's,
definitely
for some than others, but yeah, and then it's exciting, and especially with, interacting with, kids and young adults, especially right now with, what we love doing is so important, just because with how things potentially and probably will potentially change in the future, just with, the legality of what we enjoy doing so much. And so that's important for, children and, like I said, and young adults to understand, this is what we love. So we need to fight for this, because so that way it's around, it's around for us to enjoy.
Well, and with any culture or any group, there are highs and lows. We go back to the YouTube. There are some that I talk about on a regular basis because I feel wholeheartedly they are a positive influence on the culture. And there are some that we don't mention their names because they are 100% a negative. And even I say 100%, there have been people brought into the hobby because of them and then have changed their direction and become better and realize that they are not the one to follow.
Yep.
So I guess that is a positive, but I always figure that there's more negative than positive when it comes to some of those people.
And unfortunately, that's just, that's a reality. I do really, I like Kaufman's stuff that he's been putting out, especially with just the natural history aspect of things, because I think it's such a lost focus with so many, with so many people, just with reptiles in general, you know what I mean? And that's kind of like how tried to incorporate that in with the new facility with the Ethnographics Museum, because it's just like, reptiles are part of culture. They're part of life with these people. So I enjoyed what he was, his stuff with his, his natural history aspects. And I think he's definitely a positive influence in the herp community as far as YouTube go. And it's because it can be such a powerful tool, that's the thing. But also it can be really terrible.
Well, and Dave, just watching the new video he put out is kind of a pre-video to all the stuff that's coming from what he did over there in Africa. But I mean, he did some really cool things. He went to a temple that's shaped like a chameleon.
Yeah, I saw that. Was cool.
Yeah, and he got to sit through like an actual my brain's not blank on the word I'm looking for, but ceremony, like a ceremony going on inside that temple. That's cool stuff that you just don't hear about. Or everything he's going to do, again, I shit on ball pythons, but I'm going to say this part is cool.
Yeah,
he's looking at the natural history. The bulk of the people that own ball pythons will not know any of the stuff he's about to tell them about ball pythons.
Correct.
One, they couldn't have told you a country that they come from, and he went to 3 of them.
Yeah.
They couldn't have told you what kind of area they live in, but he's done that. He went there and found them. He found baby savanna monitors hatching in the wild. He found ball pythons in the wild. That's the kind of stuff that the average person needs to see, because we get so removed from nature. As much as we bring nature into our homes, there's a lot of people that get very removed from nature because they don't see it as nature. They just see it as a pet.
Yep.
And it's fine. It's great, but there's so much more there.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And so that's one thing, like one reason I love zoos, and a zoo that does that kind of stuff. Great. I'm all for that. Can get someone to understand that this amazing thing exists in the wild. And I've always, as a zookeeper, and this, you hate PETA also. I despise PETA's idea of wanting to get rid of zoos because it's so horrible to keep whatever it is in a cage. But again, I go back to like when I taught kids inner city, that kid's never seen a lion. You can't ask that kid to give a shit about a lion until you put that lion in front of them with just a piece of glass between them and it. Yep. And that changes their mind on that. Or you put a leopard gecko in a kid's hand, or a corn snake in a kid's hand, and all of a sudden it's real.
Yeah, it is. They gain the respect of that animal, very quickly, because it's a living creature that they're essentially, in charge of. So yeah. It's interesting how like so much of like, we go back to the social media thing. It's interesting how so much of that plays a factor in, what we do in our lives now, or a lot of people do, just with, reptiles in general. There's so many YouTubers that are out now, and it's just, it's hard finding, good content that's out there, that really helps what we're doing, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, it's hard because you live in a world where the person with the loudest voice becomes the expert.
Exactly.
Not the person with the most knowledge.
I got this covered, guys.
You're the loudest. That's true. You are loud. But
I'm fairly educated.
Yeah.
I like to think.
Well, that's what I'm looking forward to. So I'm opening up Robert's going to build a small reptile zoo at my high school. There's a room attached to my room that has windows facing the hallway, and the kids will be able to walk by, and it'll be zoo quality setup. And I'm going to start a club where I have kids come after school, and they will help take care of it. My goal, though, is not just like, this is how you feed and water. I want them to understand, why are we using UV lights? What does it do? I want them to understand, where does this animal come from? We're going to try and grow some of the feeder insects for them, just so they can understand the whole process of that, making the food for these animals.
Maybe I can get some from you.
Yeah, that's true. And so I'm looking forward to being able to share that with them. So it's not just, because right now I come in with like my corn snakes when I do genetics, and I come in with a few things when I do classification, and it's cool. Yeah. They see it and then I leave. But this is going to be something they'll see on a regular basis. They'll be see some behavior when they're coming by, walking by the windows every day. So I'm looking forward to that.
Cool. That's exciting. That'll be fun. I'd like to follow up on that.
Yeah. I've reached out to Zach. I'm going to get him to send me a bunch of paperwork on how he does it with his students. And then I'm going to water it down for high school kids.
Very cool.
So let's see.
And then I need to drop it down even more for third
graders. Yeah.
Yeah. I think my administration wants me to have a zoology club. We only had 2 clubs really last year at school because we were finally, our school's only 3 years old, but because of COVID, we were finally able to start doing things again. And so I got to figure this out.
All right. So some of the things I saw, I'll go over some of the things I saw this week online. It was a very interesting week online. One before I just got on here. We go back to the herpetoculture part. We are a vast group of people with people always coming into the hobby and leaving the hobby. So there's a very wide variety of people's knowledge or how to behave in the hobby or certain things. And I saw one right before I came on. Someone they ordered some rodents from Cold Blooded Cafe.
I just saw that.
You saw that. So, and we know this was a long weekend. Things happen. Shit happens. They got them in today. They were all thawed out. They were 75 degrees, whatever. They thought they were bad. He messaged them apparently and then went what looks like straight to Facebook to start bashing the company before giving them a chance to fix the situation, which I know 100% they would. That business is owned by.
It's funny you should say that. I saw that just a little bit ago, and I was just like blown away because Stephen and Desiree, I consider them. I mean, they're coming to my wedding. I consider them good friends, and they are some of the best business people I have ever met. Like, and I'm thinking to myself, man, why do you gotta cause all this drama here? Why don't you just reach out and let them know what's going on? I guarantee you $150 that they're going to reship your stuff out for you. No problem. Stuff happens,
Well, what got me is they posted it in like the Southeast Carpet Fest. I'm like, all right, so now you're going to post it into a group of people that know Desiree.
Yeah.
That are friends or acquaintances.
And Forrest, her husband that unfortunately passed away. Or boyfriend, were they husband and wife? Anyways.
Yeah, it was husband.
Yeah, husband. So Forrest, who unfortunately passed away, and everybody knows them, and they know that business, and that business is well known in the hobby as being a very high quality business.
And here's the thing: even if you're not close friends, you are familiar with them. You are familiar with their business, and like you said, we're a very interesting culture of people, and we're gonna take care of our own, and we're gonna stick up for our own.
Of course.
And so people take a breath.
Little ridiculous. I thought what bothered me the most was it seemed like they had gone to post the complaint on Facebook before they even received the response back from the company.
Yeah.
That's exactly what James said. I was cleaning and doing things around the house, and he was like, "You will never believe what just happened." And he was fussing from in here, and I was just like, "Oh man, it's gonna get ugly."
Yeah, I don't know, but people are people. That's just how it is,
Well, and that's it's the culture, the group of people, the reptile community, although it may seem large, we talk about it on a regular basis, it's a pretty small community when it really comes down to it. And so if you're going to sit there and badmouth them, it's not going to work out. I don't think that post went the way he expected, which I love those kinds of posts when someone gets on there. Huh?
What group is this in?
It was in Southeast Carpet Fest. You're not in there. But I love when those posts happen, when someone's like starts bitching and then everybody just goes, "This is not going to go the way you planned."
Yeah.
And then they pile on.
Yeah. I just thought it was kind of silly. And it looked like the person contacted them and they went ahead and they just said, "Oh yeah, no problem. We'll refund it or we'll ship it out." So no problem. No problem right there. It's like, all right, cool. Yeah.
That just, and Robert, I know you as a business owner, it drives you nuts when people do that. They go straight to Facebook to start. And like, I get it going. If a company does you wrong, I 100% get wanting to warn other people, but without talking to the company, they haven't done you wrong yet. Like, you've got, like, shit happens sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
I bet that feels pretty stupid now. It's like,
maybe they still feel validated. Like, it's
right.
They still feel like they were in the right. I don't know. It's crazy. This is a funny one. So a friend of JT, who's normally in the chat, sent us this one. It was from an Oklahoma identification group. A woman, she was going to be moving into the country, and she was trying to tell her family, her kids, and her husband how to ID venomous snakes. And you'll enjoy this. This is the rules that she gave her kids. Triangle head equals bad. Mean face equals bad. And comes at you equals bad.
What the hell does mean face
I know.
even mean?
And then the good was,
I have a mean face. I'm not bad.
Well, and the good was round face equals good, looks kind of cute and squishy, happy equals good, and runs away equals good.
Super scientific. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It looks cute and squishy. You're fine.
I'm like, what?
She's gonna get bitten by a coral snake.
Yeah, it's like, this coral snake is super cute. It's all colorful.
She's gonna get hit by a car.
Yeah.
I just that kind of stuff. I'm always amazed at that, and that gets spreads around all the time. Like, you always get the triangle head. I wish we could get rid of that. Like, and I remember as a kid being taught that, but then you look at like a Nerodia who just gets scared and then fluffs up their head.
Yeah.
That's like this patternless copperhead that's going around, or white-sided copperhead. If I have been tagged in that once, I've been tagged in it 200 times in the last 2 days, and I'm like, it was cool the first 10 times, but now it's like, okay, yes, I've seen it. Thanks.
Yeah,
Have you seen it?
I have. I've seen it a
How
million
could you
times.
not see it?
I've seen it a million times.
I sent it to Travis and just asked him what he thought. He thinks it's leucistic.
It looks leucistic.
But
It's
the guy
solid
who-
white with black eyes.
The person who has it swears it's not leucistic.
It's pretty,
but
pretty interesting. It was a wild collected animal, right?
yeah, in
Yeah.
Arkansas.
Wow, that's pretty impressive that it got so large without
Yeah.
being off by anything. It always blows my mind with wild, different genetically, altered or whatever, the color variations, stuff like that.
Well, that was like the video. Was it you sent or John sent?
Yeah,
You sent.
me, last week of the guy who found two Atrox sparring, and one of them was albino, adult male albino Atrox in South Texas. Just made
I
it.
saw that. That was pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Our buddy Nine Finger Sean found the albino cottonmouth, and we had another friend that found an albino cottonmouth. Like that's
Wow.
there's another one. This is another one of those posts where someone made a post and it did not go the way they expected. Someone had a picture of two hog noses and said how it started, and so they're mating. And the next picture is them holding one hog nose with a pinky in its mouth while the other hog nose is attached to the other end of the pinky.
What?
And everybody's like, "Why the fuck did you feed the two of them in the same?" And he's like,
Oh, you told me
he's
about
like,
this.
"Well, I
You
wanted to
told me
feed.
about this.
I was feeding the female. They're hog noses."
Yeah. They go like this until they bite something. They're stupid.
Yeah.
Every time I feed my hog nose, I'm like, how do you guys survive in the wild?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm giving you a thawed, dead mouse, and you miss like 12 times before you get it.
Yeah, the comment section on that one was interesting. Again, people, please don't feed your animals in the same enclosure. Like in a situation like that, it's different in a 30-foot by 60-foot zoo enclosure.
Yeah.
And a tub.
Yeah.
Like it's,
Even that though, we like even when I'm feeding or like my fiance's like feeding snakes or lizards or anything like that on exhibit where there's multiple animals in there that are large enough, we're always wanting you always want to watch. You
Yes.
always think things happen. It's just how how it is. It's
Absolutely.
you'd rather
and
be
you-
there, than not be there.
well, reptiles. Reptiles are one of those animals that, and you can see people do this too. When they get into food response, nothing else matters for a short period of time until they get out of that response. Like,
Exactly.
my Louisiana pine snake is like I've said it before. My Louisiana pine snake's amazing unless it smells food, and
Yeah.
then it's wants to eat whatever moves near its face.
Right.
So
That's my that big adult male MBK.
that's all MBK.
You can get him out and do whatever, but man, you better not smell like a mouse.
That's how my MBK is with James, because James is the one that feeds it, and she's so spastic whenever he goes to feed. But then, like, I'll take her out, and she's totally chill, and it's hilarious.
Yep.
I hold on. I'm trying to find the comment. I think the comment got removed from this one. It was the video from M Toxins. Do you remember
The comment got removed immediately.
that sucks. So
I was
we've
like,
had M Toxins.
You don't know what you're doing.
We had M Toxins on here before, and they were milking I forget what it was. Obviously a venomous snake of some sort. And the first comment on there was they were upset because they weren't doing it like what's his name that used to inject himself in Florida?
Bill Haas.
Bill, yeah. They were upset that that's not the way he would do it.
Yeah.
You're right. It's not the way he would do it. This is
Right.
the way you should probably do it.
Yeah.
But I was like, you're referencing your information from 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Things have changed.
Yeah.
So I thought that was fun.
Hope the snake survives your milking, is what he said. And I'm
Did
like,
Jeez.
do you know how many times they've milked that snake? Probably at toxins.
oh,
Thousands.
Yeah.
so yeah, the internet is always an interesting place for experts.
Well, it's
Oh, yeah.
given idiots a platform
To be experts.
and to be experts. Correct.
Well, that's the other thing. I don't know. I'm always amazed at the people that chime in on something like that, and they either have never kept it or they've kept it. Like say, Dave Kaufman's video is going to come out about ball pythons. Dave is there in
Yeah.
Africa,
And you're
showing
going to
us
have people on there
that
trying
disagree.
to refute what he says.
Yeah.
100%.
And I'm like, but he's showing you that snake in a hole in the ground. Like they do that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
live on.
And that always gets me. I also don't like when people try to base keeping things off of one or two things they've read in the wild or seen in the wild. I'm like, look, I've read the Samboa book. I keep Samboas, and I know in the Samboa book they talk about a Samboa that fell out of a tree with a bird. I get it, but it's not an arboreal snake.
Right.
Like, it went up there and found food.
Sure.
but I'm not putting a tree in with my Sambo. It doesn't need it.
No.
It's good. So I'm just the internet experts. Here's another Travis posted a podcast that I have never actually heard of, but now I kind of want to. It's called This Podcast Will Kill You.
I've seen that.
Have you? This one's about venom.
Mhm.
I'll have to check it out. He posted it over on the discussion on our Facebook discussion group. I'll have to go read that one. But I saw that. That looks interesting. Oh, I also posted a video over on there. Katie saw it the other night with the chickens. Did you see that one, Robert?
Holy crap.
I 100% believe chickens are related to dinosaurs after watching that.
Yeah. I think that was like a kestrel or something. that
Yeah,
came
like
in.
So I 100% understand roosters being aggressive because I've dealt with that. I've been
No.
around it.
The hens are always way more protective.
I've never seen a
Yeah,
hen go
That
fucking
small
apeshit
bird
like
of prey
that.
flew in to steal a chick, and that mother hen fucking killed it.
It was ridiculous.
She attacked it and threw it around, thrashed it around,
Oh.
and killed it.
It
I'm
was
like,
crazy.
it's fucking insane. So yeah, I saw that. I was like, yeah, that's a velociraptor. I got it. Okay, we're good. I get it. That's a dinosaur.
Absolutely crazy.
The other was Travis posted, and I tried to read the article, but it was very long, and I've already told you a small attention span. I can't read. The picture was very interesting, but it was a hog nose that was egg bound. It was they had cut it open. It was like a side view. You can see all the eggs in it, but it reads a lot about the basically overfeeding. Like we feed these animals so much, and they build up fat reserves, and in nature that doesn't work. But the basic thing I heard was that their body will begin to produce eggs because they're doing very well. So that season they should be able to produce a bunch of offspring and be fine. But the problem is they're not made to have a very good season every year, all year.
Right.
And so the snake produced way more eggs than it should have because it was overfed and it got egg bound and died. And I mean, it's a shit ton of eggs in a very small hog nose.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing is just feeding. Feeding is we talk about it on a regular basis on here, but that's another thing in the hobby where people just want to feed their stuff. Feed.
Watch. That's what I hear.
Yes.
What did he say?
She said varanids.
Oh yeah.
That'll be another interesting thing in this video. If Dave shows like adult savanna monitors in the wild, they're not gonna fucking look like adult savanna monitors in North America.
No.
Yeah.
In the hobby, I mean that's one you see all the time. They're just so fat. These are animals that are made to like run down things, and
They feed mostly off millipedes.
yeah, they're insect eaters. I know that's a large part of their diet for such a large lizard. And I guess that's another thing. We see an animal and we think we know exactly how that animal would live just based off of seeing it and knowing where it lives. But until you go there and look at it, you don't. And I'm sure you've seen that a lot with the Boelen spider. I mean, because again, it's a 10-foot snake roaming the mountains of Indonesia. You know, your first thought would be it must be eating these large mammals, being that big, maybe big squirrels and stuff. But I know a lot of those species over that, especially on the island stuff, feed a lot of times on birds, and it's a lot of times like once a year when things come through, and then.
Well, one dietary the dietary aspect is an interesting topic too. It's particularly interesting for me as well, just because obviously you want to find out what they're feeding off of naturally. So, I've got reports and I've been able to identify like birds and stuff like that they've been feeding on, or sometimes they'll regurge one up and you can see what they ate. So birds and stuff like that, but they also do feed off of a larger, I would say, mammal that's there. It's called couscous, and it's like basically the size of an opossum, you would say. So they do feed off of those, but as far as frequency goes, nobody really knows, as far as how frequently they're feeding. I mean, like you said, it could be once a month, it could be once a week, once every 3 months for all we know. I've never seen one cruising around at night, so I don't know if they're, taking advantage of, just when something cruises by opportunistically, or if they're actively out searching for stuff like that. So it's an interesting topic.
Well, there's like some island boa species that only eat when birds migrate through, and the rest of the year they don't eat, which is why they don't get huge. There's not a food supply there to get huge. Or like with Louisiana pine snakes. Yes, I can feed my Louisiana pine snake a large rat, but that's not really what they eat in the wild. Well, the reason they can get 5-6 feet in the wild is because they're eating a large amount of food at a time. They're going in and they're emptying out an entire hole of moles and then living in that hole and digesting that food instead of eating a large squirrel. They're not
right.
Yeah. I mean, wild snakes are, so much different looking than captive animals too. Anyways, I mean, because they're, 9 out of 10 times they're cruising, always, they're opportunity looking for the next meal. It's feed, breed and and hide and survive. That's it. So it's like we mistake a lean looking snake as an animal that's unhealthy, when in fact that could be just like the healthiest way to look at a lot of those things, to be like a runner, as opposed to somebody that's that dance game that they bounce around on the arcade, something like that.
Well, and we talked about, like, with that hognose, fat in reptiles builds different than fat in humans. We liked, as a race, we like to compare everything to us. And again, most things don't work the same way we work. And we build fat, and you look at somebody that got a gut, that fat's on the outside of their organs, and then they got a big fat stomach. Whereas with snakes, that fat, if you see a chunky snake, that's fat that's wrapped around all of their organs on the inside, because they build up their fat on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really fat snake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you see that, like, I've seen it with like blood pythons. Everybody goes, and if you see a healthy blood python, they don't typically look the way you see, like, they're not a big giant fat roll. Or Burmese pythons or retics. I'll see that sometimes at shows. I'm like, oh God, that looks so horrible.
Well, that Dumerals that we have, when we got her, she was way overweight.
Yeah. And it's one of those things, they see a big snake and be, that's impressive. I'm like, but is it? Like, because feeding it's not that hard to do.
It's impressive that organs are able to function still with it being so obese.
Yeah, it's impressive.
She's been on a diet now for almost a year.
Yeah.
And you can see the difference, but there's such a slow growing, slow changing snake that it's taken a while to get the weight off of her.
Yeah.
So feeding is it's another thing in the hobby that people have got to get better at. We overfeed stuff.
And being able to offer alternative prey items too is is something to also consider too. And like, I feel like it's been around forever. Like, just with the crowd that I was, growing up with, as far as reptile wise, like, alternate food sources were always something to talk about. So I feel like I'm hoping that I'm starting to see more of that too as we progress forward, as opposed to people just feeding snakes rats. They can also eat quail, they can also eat other things too, and also, it's snakes too, offering that in their diet is a natural thing. So it's like, it's important to offer those, those kind of things. A lot of animals will only breed if they're given a certain type of food at a certain time of the year also, so it's, it can be really interesting and also beneficial for the animals, just longevity and health.
I've tried to order, lately I've been ordering like small chicks and stuff for my corn snakes and like some of my colubras, because that's what they're going to eat in the wild. They're definitely catching birds and stuff in the wild and raiding nests in the wild.
Yeah, and it's a lot. We utilize rodents a lot. 90, maybe not 90%. I'd say probably like 75% we use rodents, and then the rest we use like alternate food sources like quail and things like that too, because that stuff's it's leaner, it's healthier for them in the long run, as opposed to eating rodents all the time. Not to say that you can't, but just in the long run it's healthier for the animal's longevity and its health in general.
Once I've seen people with hog noses feed like boiled eggs. They'll boil an egg and they'll chop up pieces and feed boiled egg to hog noses.
They could also give them quail eggs.
Yeah.
For quail egg. It was funny because we have a big reservoir out on one of the sides of our buildings that catches all of our backwash water, and then it shoots it back up to the back of the property in like this pond kind of area. And we had like a 20-minute rain. I think it was last week. It's been so dry out, and we had a huge amount of leopard frogs breed, and there was probably hundreds of 1/4 inch size little frogs and tadpoles. So I went through with a net, and I went out and I just started putting them inside some of our enclosures. Like we have a tropical swamp, North American swamp with like Nerodia and spotted turtles and all the map turtles and things like that. I tossed a bunch in there, and everybody came out and just like gorged themselves on all those amphibians. And it was so good for everybody.
Yeah.
Except for the frogs, but
right.
They were probably going to dry up outside when the heat came up. So, I wanted to utilize that. So, but like all the water snakes and even the turtles, the spotted turtles were eating them. It was great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because that's what they would do in the wild is, if it had been dry and there was a rain, they're going to go seek those places they know that water pools for the water, and because they know that those frogs are going to breed.
Yeah, and I found a big ribbon snake in there. It had like 6 of them down when I went in there, and I was like, all right. He was like freaking out. I was like, don't spit him up, man. I'm just coming by to get my share, So, but you're exactly right,
we definitely, and I feed mostly rodents. It's just so much easier.
Yeah, it is.
but there's definitely some snakes that it's so much easier to the very diet is an easy thing to do. We talked about with Zach because he does the false water cobras.
Yep.
And if you do false water cobras or dry marcon, you can fucking feed them anything, fillets of fish, leg quarter, whatever you want to. They'll eat pretty much anything. And so why not, if you've got an animal will take any of that stuff, just feed it to them. Yeah,
I know a couple private keepers that work with a lot of the dry marcon species, and they use in the Pytons also, and they use like chicken necks and duck necks, and they'll feed those out because they're loaded full of calcium. They do them right before reproductive season, so they'll cycle them up with feeding lots of those fowl necks because they're loaded full of so many good things, and they just have wonderful clutches. And the animals look even better too.
Yeah, and there's just certain things so Katie's bearded dragon, we're bringing it home probably tomorrow, the day after, if it's still up at her school. But we went up there today, and I fed it a couple of pinky mice because every now and then, actually over the last 2 years, she
randomly lays eggs.
She lays a giant clutch of eggs, and it takes a lot off of her. I mean, she loses a lot of weight.
It's terrifying.
And I told Katie's like, she looks so sick. I'm like, well, yeah, she's going to. You just got to feed her a ton of food and calcium. So we gave her a couple of pinkies. That's going to give her some calcium, some fat.
She got good and pissed at you after that too. That was like the most I've seen from her personality-wise in like a week.
But she ate them.
She did.
Or like I've got a redfoot tortoise, and I know redfoots eat meat in the wild. So every now and then I toss a pinky in there. Although I do too.
All of the sulcata tries to
I have to keep the sulcata from trying to eat it because they live in the same tortoise table.
Anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sulcatas eat dog shit, so I know they'll.
Yeah.
But so those kinds
should be on the care sheet.
You can feed tortoise, child, lettuce, and piles of dog shit.
Dog shit.
Although then you have dogs that will eat sulcata shit, so it's really a circle. It's a nice food web there. Another thing I saw. Okay, so I was kind of a jerk. I wasn't really a jerk. Okay, I was. A guy in a boa group posted, "How many grams should a red tail male be?"
Oh,
and so my response simply was, "I'm betting you own ball pythons." And all he responded with was, "You must be lonely." And I was like, "No, I'm good." Anytime someone's like, "How many grams?" and they go to I'm like, stop it. Just does it look healthy? Does it look healthy?
Like, it's exciting to me to see a lot of younger kids involved in herpetoculture, and especially utilizing ball pythons is that gateway, animal. And I like ball pythons. I think they're a fascinating snake, and I think it's absolutely incredible that they can be in every imaginable pattern and color you could possibly imagine, come up with. And I think that's really appealing to a lot of younger kids, and that they can make money on it too. So it helps them out. But it's interesting because like the terminology that's utilized, something can only breed if it's so many grams or something else like that. So it's always, I always try to take that time when I'm around younger kids that, are into reptiles to explain to them that there's other factors that are in it aside from how many grams the animal weighs, for different things too. So.
Yeah, I think people would be amazed at how small some reptiles in the wild are when they're laying eggs or giving birth. Like, I think people would be amazed to see how small a corn snake will really mate at in the wild.
Yeah, exactly. And then a lot of times, because the people ask me, is like, oh, what's reproductively ready? I'm like, well, it's individually animal based, in my opinion, because you could basically feed an animal the same diet, and one could be larger than the other, one could be smaller than the other. So, I think it basically individual based. I mean, obviously having a guideline as okay, you don't want to try to breed anything that's under so much weight because of the health of the animal. But like you said, you've seen small corn snakes reproduce and they've done perfectly healthy clutches. That animal could be 7 years old too.
Yeah, that's the big difference. I always take age into consideration along with size.
Exactly.
And so that's when someone starts saying grams, I'm like, dude, that comes from a part of the herpetoculture which I'm not a fan of, which is the fast turnaround.
Yeah. You could get a ball python up to probably breeding weight in 2 years, but it would not be a healthy animal. It's like,
yep.
But yeah, that's it. That's the downside of a lot of the hobby too, in my opinion.
Yeah, it kills me when we're at a show and someone goes to a rodent person and asks, how many grams does that mouse weigh? First off, you can see the mouse. It's right there. Does it look big enough for your snake to eat?
Yeah, I know. Because like when they, a lot of times too, like some of the other companies, like, because I order like companies for like quail and all that stuff, and they do by grams. And I'm like, man, I just want to see a picture of how big it is.
Right.
Exactly. That's how I am. I'll have to like go back to whatever company I ordered from before and see what their gram comparison is, because I have the physical one in my hand and go, okay, that's what I'm trying to order then.
Soda can or a dollar bill or a lighter.
So who was it used? I don't think Rodent Pro does it anymore. Someone used to do that. It was a dollar bill. Everything was lined up next to a dollar bill. And
But, like, oh, okay, cool. That's how big it is. Perfect.
yeah, I can easily do that. So
Yeah.
that's it just drives me nuts. And I saw that and I'm like, what does it matter how many ounces it's supposed to? Does it look healthy?
Yeah.
That's the question. Post a picture of your snake and we can all go, yeah, we can't see its backbone. You're doing good. Or it's kind of fat.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that was my soapbox there. I was trying to see. Oh, there's several other things that Travis posted this week. There was 2 new species of lizard found, and one was found in Machu Picchu, and it was named after Optimus Prime,
That's cool.
which I thought was cool. They're just small, dark, high elevation, cold tolerant lizards, which are pretty cool. And then there's another. I'm sure Travis is going to try to buy this. It's a kukri snake that they thought was extinct, but they're now not extinct, which happens a lot with remote places that people can't get to. I'm sure Ari has passed things that people don't think are still exist.
Yeah.
Then also several gecko species. Travis posted several gecko species in Kenya that were are new. A lot of new species.
That's very cool.
This is a good one. You saw it, and then Travis posted it. It said, so it was a snake identification and education group. It says, we're beginning to have a problem with people who buy snakes, then they get loose. This can make identification of snakes a problem. They have found king cobras in New York, and I'm not going to miss, this is how it's spelled, green Mombasa in Phoenix. Please don't import snakes needlessly. If you want to see them, go to the zoo. I was like, what?
No comment.
I was like, so they found a green city on the Horn of Africa in Phoenix. Okay.
Yeah, the green Mombasa.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I commented on it. He's like, you know what I mean. I was like, no.
Then
No, I
fix
don't.
it.
Say what you mean.
You should not have. No.
Green Mamba.
God,
They're dangerous. You got to watch out for those green Mombasas.
They're bad. Bad news.
I love folks that want to comment on one animal gets loose here or there, and everybody wants to comment on how the entire hobby is horrible. I'm like,
yeah,
can we talk about all the stray dogs and cats that got loose? Like, those are loose. Like, those are out there. Another thing I want to tell people to look out for, because it's happened to me twice in like the last week. Watch for turtles.
That was the absolute best part of my day yesterday, was James contemplating whether or not to turn down
It was a one-way street, and I was like, there was a turtle crossing. I was like, I need to go get that turtle, but it's the wrong. So I didn't drive down the wrong way.
I told him he just should.
I pulled off to the side and ran down the road.
2 lanes. He would have been fun.
But prior to that, earlier in the week, our neighbor, we live in a neighborhood and we're probably 100 yards, more than 100 yards away from the water.
Yeah.
And she had a turtle on her porch. She posted it on our neighborhood Facebook group. And when I looked at the timestamp on it, it had actually been on her porch for like 3 hours.
Wow.
And I went down there and it was sitting on our porch. I picked it up, took it to the water. But between that and the one I got the other day, from what I can tell, they both look like large breeding size females, most likely leaving to lay eggs. It's that time of year. And so watch for turtles. I remember reading a study once that said, and something along the lines of bodies of water near roads tend to have a higher population of males than females for that reason. The males don't have to leave the water. The females do have to leave the water, and they're getting hit by cars and not making it back.
There's been a couple of posts in our local Talk of Pearland group. I saved this turtle today from my backyard. What should I do with it? Go put it back. Put it back exactly where you found it and leave it alone. So there was a thing that got posted in one of our snarky reptile groups where we all laugh at people.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to say the name of it, but people looking it up.
I know.
It wasn't reptile related, but I got a good laugh out of it.
What was it?
We are out of perineum fuel.
Oh, I saw that.
We are very sorry for any inconveniences. I'm like, all right, no tank gas.
Yeah, they meant premium,
right?
But they're out of the perineum
fuel.
Is that why so high right now?
maybe
spell check.
So you were talking about putting stuff back where you found it. So we have 2 dogs.
I'm going to start using that. I'm going to say that gas is higher than a giraffe's perineum.
Oh my god. So we have 2 dogs. We have a pit mix who's like 50 pounds and dumb as a box of rocks. And then we have
She's not dumb. She's selectively intelligent.
This is very true.
She knows when she does shit wrong.
Because she went and got in her crate this morning after barking at that dog in the corner yard.
Yeah.
She knew she wasn't supposed to do that.
I don't think I'm going to refer to
herself in her crate.
I'm not going to refer to her as dumb anymore. She's selectively intelligent.
Yeah. She chooses when to obey us. Anyways. So then we have my daughter has a Dachshund Chihuahua mix. And
That's dumb.
This dog will rabbit hop across the yard when she gets excited, and she chases after toads.
We have a lot of toads.
And we have so many toads in the backyard. So the other night I opened the back door to let him out to go to the bathroom, and there was a huge toad. And before I could think, I just scooped it up and like chunked it over the fence. I mean, I yeeted that son of a bitch out of our yard like there was no tomorrow. Because the dog is going to pounce on it and try to eat it. And I was
try it once.
It did not. It did not get to stay where it was.
It was a flying toad.
There was a flying toad.
The rare Texas
Probably
flying toad.
Gave our neighbors a heart attack if they were in their
That thing
backyard.
probably pissed the whole way across the air. It's just, one thing. There was a really cool thing. Nathan posted this in our group, and it's at the National Aquarium. There's a waterway out there I'll say it's in Baltimore. DC? Baltimore. I can't remember. Anyways, what they did was they noticed that there were a lot of turtles in this waterway and that there was really nowhere for the turtles to bask. And so they made a basking platform for the turtles out of floating wire caging and like a little grass area that they're growing up. And as soon as they put it out there and anchored it, just shit tons of turtles. Turtles they didn't even realize were in there. Some of the more rare turtles that were in there. It was just a cool idea of how this is not that hard. It's just some wire fencing and some flotation devices underneath it. Really change that area for those animals because there's nowhere for those animals to come. So I just thought it was kind of cool. If you go watch the video, you can see all these turtles climbing up on this brand new floating platform out there. So yeah, it was the Baltimore Aquarium, I think. But and then I was trying to see if there's anything else. Oh, this was neat. Travis posted this, and this is something I think we need to do in America. But it was in Iceland. They're wanting to put a curfew out for cats.
I saw that.
Your cats cannot be out at night. Now, there are some places in Iceland where they have said your cats cannot, or dogs cannot be outside, which I'm all for. But I'm all for at least a small step of your cats cannot be out at night, because as reptile people, we know how dangerous cats are when it comes to the things that we like, or just if you're any sort of nature lover in general, the amount of damage that the cats have done to nature is insane. And that's my soapbox every week. I want everybody to understand. Look, I don't hate cats. I just hate outdoor cats.
I agree.
Keep your cat. Yeah, keep them inside. Just keep them inside. It talks in here that cats are responsible for 63 species going extinct, 40 birds, 21 mammals, 2 reptiles, and they've contributed to the endangered status of another 587 species. So your sweet little cat is not harmless just because it lets you pet it.
Oh, dude, I've seen some shit this week. Like one lady was just arguing with everybody in one of the groups about cats were naturally in the wild, so now they should be allowed to do whatever they want. And I'm like, oh,
I love that argument every time we go, God made them. God did not make your cat. Even, I don't care what you believe. That's fine. That's the atheist telling you God did. But anyways, humans made that cat. If you want to go with cats are in the wild, they are. There are bobcats, and there are a few cougars left around here. But there are not supposed to be a million feral cats roaming around killing things at will for fun.
Yep.
Anyways, way to go, Iceland. Keep those damn cats inside. All right. I think I'm good. I don't think I have anything else I think my soapbox, I'm good.
I was about to say, you've been on a few tonight.
It's important. They're important things. The world's full of stupid people. I need to call them out every now and then. Robert, you got anything?
No.
You weren't here last week to talk about the show. You had a decent show the week before. We did a local reptile show.
Yeah, it was okay.
It was all right. It was interesting. It was a lot of people. We talked about it a little bit.
Yeah, I will definitely have a different approach to that show next time.
That show is definitely what we refer to as zoo people.
Yes.
If you've ever gone to a reptile show, you've seen zoo people. They come to the reptile show because it's a zoo.
Yeah.
They want to touch things, hold things, see things. They're not part of the reptile. You talk about herpetoculture. They're not part of herpetoculture,
But
right?
we're trying to bring them in.
We're trying to, yes. Which is great. There's a need for that, to get people in the door, just to get them familiarized with these things that we see as normal. Because, I mean, Ari, you've been to shows, and we've been the average person walks through there and they're freaked out by a lot of it, and they think we're super weird.
do for that day, essentially.
Oh, I am gonna say something that I was gonna say last week.
What?
If you win a contest that didn't cost you anything to fucking win, and the business has a rough time and tells you, hey, once I get all my paid for customers taken care of, I will get you your fucking free thing, and you're an asshole about it, and you start trying to harm the reputation of the business, you can suck the biggest, fattest fucking dick in the world, and I'm not going to send you shit. So that's where we're at on that. You know who you are. Fuck off. Done. You can edit that out if you'd like.
I'm not editing that out. By the way, we are giving away this free metal. Oh, I agree. I'm with you. I agree.
Yeah,
But,
if you're such a fucking worthless human that you are so worried about that over whether a business is surviving, fuck you.
I agree.
And I told that person as much as well. So yeah. And if you don't like it, don't fucking listen to this free podcast.
That's true. It's a free podcast. You don't have to listen to us. I don't give a damn if you listen to us.
Yeah.
Anyways, on that note, trying to think of anything coming up. Ari, if people want to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you?
You can go to projectblackpython.org. And you can go to Reptilandia on Facebook, or also on Instagram too.
And you have a GoFundMe on the Project Black Python, right?
Yeah, I don't have an active one right now. Just because a lot of times I was doing it prior to like getting new equipment, stuff like that into the field, or getting back and stuff like that. So I haven't put anything up in a while. But if people are looking to donate to my research, or donate to the new zoo facility, you can reach out any of those three platforms, rather, Instagram or Facebook, or on my Project Black Python thing like that. So, and it'd be great. I really appreciate it, and all of it helps and stuff like that. And or if you just want to call or just message and talk about Boelen's pythons, I'm all up for it.
I definitely recommend if you can give to it, because like I said with the Boelen's pythons thing, Ari's not doing this through a university. There's not some grant out there paying for him to go do, like, this is Ari's like, I want to go study these snakes in the mountains of Indonesia, and he's doing it.
Yeah, like I do have, so like all of my trips, they're funded either basically 100% out of my own pocket, or I have some very generous research supporters. One of them is Todd Goodman from Timberline, of course. He's a good friend of mine. And Josh Hansen, who's also a very good friend of mine. I've had countless amount of other people that have donated to my research too. And I wouldn't be able to be doing this without having people helping out, because it's expensive to get there, but it's needed, there's not much, not much time left. I look at, and we need to we need to help out the way we can.
Well, the reason this species is important, it's important for what you're doing, is as far as reproduction, no one's really reproducing them in captivity. The babies that people are getting are gravid adults coming in, right? Laying eggs, and then those eggs hatching.
So the adults aren't being brought in, but the babies are. So gotcha. Babies are being collected. So at least the adults are being left, which is good. But and then the ones, and obviously, there's populations that are out there that I'm sure not being affected by things like that. But the biggest factor, about everything is just, habitat loss, obviously. So these populations, if we keep taking the offspring from these areas, and then we lose the habitat, we lose the adults there. So there's no continuous reproduction in these areas. So, one of my main goals here is to help establish, successful, healthy, colonies or groups of these animals in captivity with competent people that can do it and be able to reproduce them. We can alleviate any wild collecting pressures. And then we can also sustain these animals in captivity. If, for any reason, if we end up losing them because of these, these areas just disappearing, it's sad.
Well, there was a video last week that I posted on our Facebook page, on our discussion, that was talking about a road system going through Papua New Guinea. And the fear is that the same thing will happen there that's happened in other places. Once you put a road in and you make it possible for people to travel from one place to the other, then that expands and you start to lose more and more land.
Yeah, I mean, New Guinea in itself is probably one of the last few places that, is still completely, hidden. There's so many areas there that are just not explored. But they completed a road 2 years ago in West Papua, the area I go to, and it was a huge project. And I've heard that it's basically for all the big timber and all that construction vehicle stuff to go through, because it's just a huge, massive journey. And I heard it is not a safe place to go through. So I didn't obviously want to check it out, but I've heard I'll definitely be staying clear of it. I mean, it's a good place to get robbed and then thrown in the ditch. But yeah, it's only a matter of time before some of these areas are just just a memory. And sadly, I've already kind of experienced that with some of the stuff out there. So like I said, my goal is to learn as much as I can about these animals and be able to incorporate that into captivity, so we can have healthy populations in captive environments.
Well, that'd be awesome. I hope to see that. I know a few people that are keeping them, and I'm hoping. I know that Keith has some. Keith McPeak, so he's working.
Right.
I don't. Does Ryan Young have any?
No, but I don't. Well, actually, I don't know.
Because he's bred like every other python, so
Ryan is very, very good with that stuff. I do know he was involved with helping somebody recently, or within the last couple of years, helping with some of his skill and stuff like that. So that's exciting also. And I do know of a clutch that was already produced this year in captivity. And I know somebody else that possibly might have some success as well. So there's some advanced being made, which is good. But a lot of it is, we get into the ego, which is a big thing in the reptile community. So lack of sharing information has always been a huge factor. And I can understand if you don't want to share your secrets or whatever, but and the way I'm looking at it for what we're doing is I'm trying to maintain these animals in captivity, because they're not going to be around forever in the wild. So we need to figure out how to do this right, where we can help these animals in the long run.
Yeah, I don't get the ego when it comes to something like this. There's no negative to me if people know how to do this, right?
Yeah. And it's, and I try to talk to everybody and anybody that's had, laid eyes on one of these snakes and just said, hey, what's your thought? What's your idea? Have you worked with them? What have you observed? Things like that. And, I'm fortunate enough because I try to maintain a really, really positive, reputation just with what I'm doing, as well as the people that I talk to. So that way they trust me and say, hey, listen, if you don't feel comfortable saying this publicly, what you're doing, please let me know. So that way we can relate this to what we're doing and, and get this information out and possibly get it to somebody that, that has never had a chance to work with these snakes before, and they do it, or they figure out, they open up that door where somebody else, can walk in and fill in that spot. So, I mean, that's the goal. And ultimately I want that with everything that we're working with, but, just particularly with me, with my passion, I would really, really be happy to see these snakes being bred more routinely in captivity, because that would just be a really happy thing to see.
Yeah. So help out if you can. Definitely once the zoo opens up, go out there, visit.
It's going to be awesome. I mean, I guarantee, no matter where you're coming from, in state, out of state, it is going to be well worth the trip. You will see things that you have never seen before. You will experience things that you've never been able to experience, and you'll just have a great time. And we want it to be a happy place for people to come out and have a great time and learn. That's what we want. We're all about learning. That's why we're doing this stuff.
Can't wait.
Yeah. I'm looking excited. I'm excited for that. Any chance to see reptile zoos?
Yeah, and thank you guys for having me come out. I really appreciate that. I haven't done a podcast in a bit, and it's always fun. I always enjoy talking to people, especially new people and stuff like that too. So don't be, you guys have my contact. So
yes,
thank you. We'll definitely let you know when we're coming. That way,
100%.
Hopefully you'll be there that day,
and he'll be there.
No, not like that. No.
Katie, you got anything?
I don't.
Nothing. Again, anybody, you got a few hours left if you want to get in for this giveaway for the mandala behind me with the chameleon on it. There's a picture on our Facebook page. All you gotta do is post a picture of your US ARC membership and you're in the giveaway. Next week we'll be back. I don't know who the co-host will be. It'll be somebody. It may be these two people. Hopefully. We'll see.
I think next week I'm free.
Okay. But
You got a couple of weeks till I'm gone for a while.
thank you, Ari, for coming on. It was great.
Not a problem.
Hold out for a minute while we log off. We'll see all of y'all next week, and good night.